Chapter 3, Mu Territory. The Northern Spiritual Realm is split into 9 territories. Each one is controlled by a lord, and between these 9 territories, they are either allied or oppose each other. That is also how the Northern Spiritual Realm has always maintained the situation of 9 territories. Aside from the 9 territories, there is still a powerful force to be reckoned with in the Northern Spiritual Realm. That is the Northern Spiritual Academy. However, compared to the 9 territories that caused many disputes, the Northern Spiritual Realm has always maintained neutral. They do not have any ambition for competing over the land. They would only stick to their area and attract students over. It is because of this that the Northern Spiritual Academy has such a high status within the Northern Spiritual Realm. And the Northern Spiritual Academy also holds the spots which will allow them to enter the 5 grade academies. This is something that all the various lords want, because they all understood, although they had a decent position within the Northern Spiritual Realm, but they could not compare to the 5 grade academies. Thus, they would send their children, once they are of age, to the Northern Spiritual Academy to train in order to obtain these spots. Therefore, the force that one must not offend within the Northern Spiritual Realm is the Northern Spiritual Academy. Mu Territory, Mu City. The moment that Mu Chun walked out of the transverse spiritual array, a bustling sound entered his ears. He looked at the prospering Mu City and let out a slight smile. The Mu City is the main city within the Mu Territory, and his father Mu Feng is the Mu Territory's lord. Little Lord. Little Lord. You came back from the Northern Spiritual Academy? Hurry and report to the Territory Lord. Near the transverse spiritual array, there were a few Mu Territory guards protecting it. The instant that they saw the boy walking out of the spiritual array, they were surprised for a moment, but soon they suddenly rejoiced and came over. I've troubled all of you, but it's fine if I go back myself. Mu Chen directed a smile towards the guards. He grew up in this place and was familiar with many people. Although he was the son of the Territory Lord, his attitude was excellent. Thus, he was quite welcomed within the Mu Territory. He said farewell to the passionate guards and flew off towards the center of the city. Shortly after, a large estate appeared within his eyes. In front of the estate, there were 2 large words, Mu Estate. It was evident that the Mu Estate was heavily guarded. However, Mu Chen did not care about it all and directly ran inside. The guards also let out a warm smile after they recognized him and bowed down to him. Following that, they no longer cared about it. Dad! Mu Chen charged into the estate and stormed into the living room. He then noticed that there were 2 figures. On the seat of the host was a man with a black robe. He had an upright body and a determined expression on his face. The only thing that made him look slightly old was the white hair floating out of his head, but you could see vaguely that he must have been a handsome person when he was young. That person is Mu Chen's father, Mu Feng. He is also the lord of the Mu Territory. At the right-hand seat of Mu Feng, there was a slim, middle-aged man. Within that man's pupil was a hint of trouble, and he seemed to be a little bit dark. His tiny lips revealed a stern atmosphere. But that stern atmosphere dispersed a lot after he saw Mu Chen rushing into the living room. Between his 2 brows, a gentle smile surfaced. It's fine if you come back. Why did you have to shout? Mu Feng placed down the things in his hand and looked at the boy that came in through the door. He could not help but scold him gently. However, there was warmth coming out from the depths of his eyes. Territory Lord, it is rare for little Mu to come back. It is naturally that we would feel happy. The skinny middle-aged man smiled as he spoke. It seems like only Uncle Zhou understands. Mu Chen sat down on a chair and grinned at the skinny man. Through the way they spoke, you could tell that they were quite close. Uncle Zhou is named Zhou Yi. He is also a lifetime friend of his father. Back then, he followed his father and killed within the Northern Spiritual Realm and finally helped and supported him to become the lord of the Mu Territory. He also watched as Mu Chen grew up, and so, He has always treated Mu Chun as his own child. The feelings they shared between them were naturally superb. Huh! You advanced into the spiritual movement stage. Mu Feng smiled and said in surprise when he looked at Mu Chun. Hearing this, Zhou Yi also looked at Mu Chun in surprise. As expected, he could detect the spiritual aura being emitted within Mu Chun's body. I advanced into it a while back then. Mu Chun nodded his head. Talking about this matter was a bit dull. There wasn't many exciting things about it. It seems that you came back for spiritual arts then.
Mu Feng smiled.
Only after you advance into the spiritual movement stage will you be able to learn spiritual arts. And by learning spiritual arts, you will then be able to release the true power of the spiritual energy. I have to fight against someone 10 days later. It might be a little troublesome if I do not learn spiritual arts. Mu Chun curled his lips and explained the matter about Liu Yang's challenge when Mu Feng and Zhou Yi threw a suspicious gaze towards him. None of the people from the Liu family are any good. After Zhou Yi heard about it, his eyes became a bit vicious and he said, "The Liu family has become more and more arrogant these years. Although the Liu territory can be considered as the #1 in the northern spiritual realm, do they think that the Mu territory is weak?" Mu Feng let out a smile without care and said, "I can't imagine that Liu Yang would actually have a spiritual pulse. The Liu family truly is blessed. It's only a human-level spiritual pulse," Zhou Yi said. However, he frowned a bit as he said this. He looked at Mu Chun and said that Liu Yang's strength is also at the spiritual movement stage initial phase. With the help of the spiritual pulse, it wouldn't be easy for someone in the spiritual movement stage middle phase to deal with him. Little Mu, do you think you can do it?
Mu Chun smiled.
He had already attacked someone with the heaven-level spiritual pulse. Why would he care about a mere human-level spiritual pulse? Compared to the insane individuals within the spiritual road, Liu Yang appears to be too inexperienced. Mu Feng looked at the innocent face of Mu Chen. He could feel that his son changed after he came back from the spiritual road. Although this little guy would seem gentle and modest, Mu Feng was still able to detect a cold and sharp aura hidden underneath that gentle and innocent face due to his experiences of killing people. That sharp aura was like a dormant dragon. It's fine when it does not roar, but once it explodes out, it will definitely finish everything swiftly. That change made Mu Feng a little bit surprised and also a little bit pleased. He was greatly concerned about his only son. As for why Mu Chun would be kicked out halfway through the spiritual road, he was puzzled, but he did not ask for more. He believed that his son would not do anything that would disappoint him. "Let's go. I'll bring you over to select some spiritual arts." Mu Feng stood up and waved his hand to Mu Chun. Then, he walked towards the backyard. After Mu Chun greeted Zhou Yi, he swiftly followed. He followed Mu Feng and passed through the backyard. In the end, they stopped near a heavily guarded stone door. A forceful spiritual aura spread out from Mu Feng's palms, turned into rays of light, and filled the stone door. Behind Mu Feng, Mu Chun was able to feel the forceful spiritual energy fluctuations. He could not help but lick his mouth. Dad is indeed a powerful individual at the spirit stage. The fluctuations were actually this strong. Within the training, you will first start off at the sensing stage. You will sense the spiritual aura within the world. Following that is the spiritual movement stage. At this level, you will be able to absorb the spiritual aura into the body. After the spiritual movement stage is the spiritual rotation stage. You will be able to condense the spiritual aura within the body into a cycle. The degree of spiritual energy would far surpass the spiritual movement stage. Passing through the spiritual rotation stage, you will reach the spirit stage. This could be considered as the dividing level. Mu Feng is at this level. Once you stepped into the spirit stage, you could be considered to be a powerhouse within the northern spiritual realm. The powerhouses at this level have battle power far beyond the spiritual rotation stage. This is because you will be able to obtain a unique ability after reaching the spirit stage. It is the ability to ingest a beast spirit. The so-called beast spirit is the spirit of the million beasts of the world. Once you ingest it, you will be able to obtain some power from the spiritual beast. By combining it with your own spiritual energy, your combat strength will naturally soar. Within this heaven and earth, there is a beast record. It divides the numerous spiritual beasts within the world into two rankings, heaven and earth. And the spiritual beast spirit that Mufeng had ingested was one that he found due to a lucky coincidence. It is known as the Dragon Firebird. Within the earth ranking of the beast record, it is ranked 85. During the years when Mufeng traveled throughout the northern spiritual realm and becoming the Mu territory lord, the spirit of the Dragon Firebird has contributed a lot. Creak. While Mu Chun was distracted, the heavy stone door slowly opened up and the heavy, creaking sound rang out. After the stone door opened up, a smell of dust rushed into their face. Mufeng fanned using his hand and walked in. Mu Chun also hastened to keep up. A chamber appeared after passing through the stone door. Within the chamber, there were many dim firelights and rows of stone shelves began to appear in front of one's eyes. On the stone shelves, many scrolls of scripts began to flash faintly. Mu Chun's eyes shone as he looked at the various scripts within the chamber. It was obvious that they were all spiritual arts. Mufeng clapped his hand. He looked at the chamber and stared at the deepest part for a moment. Then, he immediately said with a faint smile, "All the stocks of spiritual arts that your father has are here. You can pick any of them. I want to see which one you will select."